Hello and welcome to Let's Master English. I'm your host, and today we're going to talk about something that I know is on the minds of many of you: how to achieve English fluency from scratch. I get this question all the time. How did you do it? Or what's the secret? Well, I'm here to tell you there's no magic pill, but there is a path. A path that I walked, and that many others around the world have walked too. And today, I'm going to share the practical, real-world steps that took me from knowing just a few words to being able to host this podcast and communicate with people from all corners of the globe. This isn't just about grammar rules and vocabulary lists. This is about the journey, the mindset, and the small, consistent actions that make a huge difference. We'll talk about how to start speaking right from the beginning, even when you feel like you don't know enough. We'll explore how to move beyond the intermediate plateau and really push towards that feeling of fluency. And I'll share stories of people just like you, from different countries and backgrounds, who have successfully navigated this journey. So, grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's talk about how you can master English. I remember the first time I decided I wanted to learn English. I was filled with excitement, but also a huge amount of fear. The language seemed like this enormous mountain I had to climb. I didn't know where to start. My first piece of advice, and something I did myself, is to embrace the baby steps. You wouldn't expect a baby to start running a marathon, and you shouldn't expect yourself to be fluent in a month. My first practical step was to learn the absolute essentials. I'm talking about the survival phrases. Hello, goodbye, thank you, how are you? My name is, I am from. These are not just polite words, they are your entry ticket into the world of English communication. I wrote these down on small cards and carried them with me everywhere. I would say them out loud when I was alone, trying to get my mouth used to the new sounds. I also found a great app for learning vocabulary. There are many out there, like Duolingo, Memories, or Anki. The key for me was consistency. I set a small, achievable goal: learn 5 new words every day. Just 5. It doesn't sound like much, does it? But after a month, that's 150 new words. After a year, it's over 1,800. This is how you build a foundation, brick by brick. Let me tell you about my friend, Kenji, from Japan. When he started learning English, he was very shy and afraid of making mistakes. His first step was to label everything in his apartment in English: the door, the window, the refrigerator, the table. Every day he would see these words. It was a simple, passive way of learning that helped him build a basic vocabulary without the pressure of speaking. This is a fantastic trick that I recommend to everyone. It makes the language a part of your daily environment. Okay, so you've learned a few basic phrases and some vocabulary. Now comes the scary part: speaking. Many learners wait until they feel ready to speak, but here's the secret: you'll never feel 100% ready. You have to start speaking before you're ready. But what can you talk about? You don't have enough words to discuss politics or philosophy. Well, you can talk about what you're doing right now: learning English. This is a brilliant strategy that I used all the time. I found a language exchange partner online. There are websites like Tandem or HelloTalk where you can find native English speakers who want to learn your language. In my first few conversations, I was so nervous. My sentences were simple and full of mistakes, but I talked about my English learning journey. I would say things like, "Hello, I am learning English. It is difficult, but I like it." Today I learned 5 new words. The words are: what is a good way to practice pronunciation? Can you help me with this sentence? This approach has 2 huge benefits. First, you are practicing speaking in a low-pressure way. Your language partner knows you are a beginner, and they will be patient and helpful. Second, you are getting valuable advice and feedback from a native speaker. They can correct your mistakes, teach you new words, and give you tips on how to improve. I remember my first language partner, Sarah, from the UK. She was so kind. I would try to explain something in my broken English, and she would listen patiently and then say, "Ah, I think you mean this." And then she would type the correct sentence for me. Those early conversations were some of the most important lessons I ever had. Building your skills, moving towards intermediate. Once you're comfortable with basic conversations, it's time to start expanding your knowledge and skills. This is the stage where you move from being a beginner to an intermediate learner. For me, this was about a year into my journey. I could have simple conversations, but I wanted to express more complex ideas. Here are the practical steps I took during this phase. 1. Focus on comprehensible input. This is a term from the linguist Stephen Krashen. It means that you should be listening to and reading English that is just a little bit above your current level. It should be challenging enough to learn new things, but not so difficult that you get frustrated and give up. For me, this meant watching TV shows with subtitles. I started with simple shows, like cartoons or sitcoms. Friends was a great one because the language is quite natural and conversational. At first, I watched with subtitles in my own language. Then I switched to English subtitles. Finally, I was able to watch without any subtitles at all. This process took months, but it was a fantastic way to improve my listening skills and learn new vocabulary in context. I also started reading. I didn't start with Shakespeare. I went to the library and found books for young adults or graded readers. These are books that are specially written for English learners at different levels. I remember the feeling of finishing my first book in English. It was a huge confidence booster. 2. Make grammar your friend, not your enemy. A lot of people hate grammar. They see it as a set of boring rules that they have to memorize. But I found that understanding some basic grammar was essential for moving to the next level. I didn't try to learn every single grammar rule at once. Instead, I focused on one topic at a time. For 1 week, I would focus on the past tense. I would read about the rules, do some exercises, and then try to use the past tense in my conversations with my language partner. The next week, I would focus on prepositions and so on. Think of grammar as the skeleton of the language. You need it to hold everything together, but you don't need to be a grammar expert to be fluent. You just need to have a good enough understanding to communicate your ideas clearly. 3. Start thinking in English. This might sound strange, but it's one of the most powerful things you can do to improve your fluency. When you think in your native language and then translate into English, it's slow and you often make mistakes. I started with small things. When I was walking down the street, I would try to describe what I saw in my head in English. That is a big red bus. The woman is walking her dog. I am feeling hungry. I want to eat a sandwich. At first it was difficult. My brain wanted to go back to my native language, but with practice it became more and more natural. This is a habit that you can practice anytime, anywhere. You don't need a book or a teacher. You just need your own mind. Let me tell you about Maria from Brazil. She's a fantastic English speaker now, but she told me that her biggest breakthrough came when she started a diary in English. Every night before she went to bed, she would write a few sentences about her day. It wasn't for anyone else to read, it was just for her. This helped her to practice writing and to start thinking about her daily life in English. The push to fluency, from intermediate to advanced. This is often the most challenging part of the journey. Many learners get stuck at the intermediate level. They can communicate, but they still make a lot of mistakes and they don't feel fluent. This is often called the intermediate plateau. How do you break through this plateau? For me, it was about changing my mindset and my methods. I had to stop being a passive learner and become an active user of the language. Here's what I did. 1. Immerse yourself in the language. I tried to make English a part of my everyday life as much as possible. I changed the language on my phone and my computer to English. I started listening to English music and podcasts, just like this one. I followed English-speaking people on social media. I also found a hobby that I could do in English. I love cooking, so I started watching cooking shows in English and reading recipes in English. This was a great way to learn new vocabulary in a fun and engaging way. The goal is to create an English bubble around yourself, even if you don't live in an English-speaking country. The more you are exposed to the language, the more natural it will become. 2. Focus on your weaknesses. At the advanced level, you need to be more strategic about your learning. I asked my native English-speaking friends to correct my mistakes. This was a little bit embarrassing at first, but it was incredibly helpful. They pointed out mistakes that I didn't even know I was making. I also recorded myself speaking. I would choose a topic, speak about it for a few minutes, and then listen back to the recording. This helped me to identify problems with my pronunciation, my grammar, and my vocabulary. It's a powerful tool for self-improvement. 3. Find your why. When the journey gets tough, it's important to remember why you started learning English in the first place. For me, it was about connecting with people from other cultures and being able to travel and communicate freely. I have a friend, Ahmed, from Egypt. He's a software engineer. His why was his career. He wanted to work for an international company, and he knew that he needed to have excellent English skills. This motivation pushed him to study hard, even when he was tired after a long day at work. Today, he has a great job at a multinational company and uses English every day. Your why will be your biggest motivator. Write it down and put it somewhere you can see it every day. It will remind you of your goal and give you the strength to keep going. Fluency is a journey, not a destination. So, what does it mean to be fluent? For me, fluency is not about being perfect. I still make mistakes in English, and that's okay. Fluency is about being able to communicate your ideas and feelings effectively. It's about being able to have a deep conversation with someone, to understand a movie without subtitles, to read a book and enjoy it. It's a journey, not a destination. You will always be learning new things and improving your skills. The most important thing is to enjoy the process. Be curious, be patient with yourself, and celebrate your progress along the way. I've shared my story and the stories of some of my friends, but everyone's journey is different. What works for one person might not work for another. The key is to find the methods and strategies that work for you and to be consistent. So, to recap, here are the practical steps we talked about today. Start with the baby steps. learn the survival phrases, and use a vocabulary app consistently. Start speaking before you're ready. Talk about your language learning journey with a language exchange partner. Move towards intermediate with comprehensible input. Watch TV shows and read books that are at your level. Make grammar your friend. Focus on one grammar topic at a time. Start thinking in English. Describe the world around you in your head. Push to fluency by immersing yourself in the language. Create an English bubble and find a hobby you can do in English. Focus on your weaknesses. Ask for feedback and record yourself speaking. Find your why. Remember your motivation for learning English. I know this is a lot of information, but don't feel overwhelmed. Just pick one or two of these tips and try to implement them this week. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Thank you so much for listening to Let's Master English today. I hope you found this episode helpful and inspiring. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. There are millions of people all over the world learning English, just like you. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and you will achieve your goals. I'd love to hear about your own language learning journey. You can find us on our social media channels and share your stories and tips with our community. Until next time, keep learning and keep mastering English.